Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Careers and Coffee. My name is Kaylee and I'm going to be your host for today's show with my amazing colleague Josie behind the scenes doing tech. Today we have Nick on the show, who is a project manager and also leads the Mental Health Matter program. And today he shall be speaking about his role, his sector, and why mental health matters. So let's welcome Nick.
Afternoon, Kaylee. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're just going to dive straight in, actually. So to kick off today's show, could you tell us who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so Nick O'Dwyer, I'm currently, although I'm a project manager, I'm currently a resource manager for the business that I'm working for, so Jacobs Engineering. And yeah, been a resource manager now since end of January.
Amazing. And what does your average workday look like? I know no 2 days look or kind of feel the same, but if you could just give us a bit of an overview, that'd be great.
Okay, so an average work day would be logging on to the laptop about 7 o'clock in the morning, checking any emails that may have come in from across the business because we're global. We all work in different shifts, different hours, so there may have been something that came in that I didn't see. From that point on, it's then engaging with the local frameworks, the sides of the business that I'm working with to find out their resource needs, what opportunities they've got coming up with the clients, and to understand what growth areas they've got, having those regular conversations and chats, and then reaching back into the business to understand who within the business is currently becoming available, who's finishing on the contract they're on, and trying to align up those skills with the opportunities that are needed out supporting the clients.
Yeah, that's great, and it sounds very varied. So it must, keep it interesting as well that way.
Yeah, every day is different. Every day has its own challenges, as you can imagine, with every job.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that you're very passionate as well about mental health and well-being, and that you run the Mental Health Matters program. So could you give us more detail about what that program is and what do you do on that?
Yeah, so as well as my day job, resource management, project management, I do lead the Mental Health Matters program for EMEA and APAC for ES&T, which is our half of the business. And what does that entail? That entails ultimately making sure that our people are supported with the support mechanisms that we have in place as a business. The Mental Health Matters program probably started back in 2017 with what is now the Positive Mental Health Champion Network, where we launched in the UK and Ireland a program to train people that would look at supporting their teams and the wider business by listening, by being there, by being able to signpost our people and the people that we work with to support that was available to them. To date, we've now got 2,000 positive mental health champions globally. We're, as I say, we're a global business of 55,000 people, very, very diverse. So the champions is the foundation. On the back of that, within the Mental Health Matters program, we've got obviously our employee assistance program. We're supporting our clients with those programs as well in place, and it's about making sure that our people feel safe, secure, and able to be themselves and open up about who they are and what they need.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. And how do you feel businesses could focus more on well-being? Because obviously staff well-being is really important, for the business to be running. So how could they focus more on well-being?
Yeah, so I mean, I could start off by saying loads of statistics about the negative effect of well-being if the business doesn't look at that. But I think for any business to really understand about well-being, it's to have a plan in place, to stick to that plan and listen to the people on what needs to be changed. There are so many amazing initiatives out there. It's been a difficult time for many of us. I mean, I've worked from home since the moment COVID joined us, and I haven't yet left working from home. And it's been difficult for a business, any business, to reach out and understand people's well-being, because we're not in the office, we're not there to talk to, we're at the end of a screen, which can sometimes be a little bit difficult to engage with. But for any company, listen to your people and be true. Know that your people have problems, listen to what they are, and do your very best.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like you said, it has been that challenging time as well. And if we think about young people, they've gone through that challenging of time of not being at school with their peers and their friendship group. So for young people, why is it important that they look at and think about their own well-being as well?
It's a great question. I think it's because of the younger generation and us opening up to what they need that a lot of businesses are really starting to engage with well-being, mental health, and actually having those conversations. As I said, we started our journey back in 2017-ish on the Mental Health Matters program. But for a young person, the future life that they're going to be involved in is probably not what they think it is. I mean, there's so many jobs that they'll probably end up doing that don't exist at the moment, and they'll be doing something totally varied to what their probable qualification that they're doing is. That they need to be resilient, and that resiliency, those techniques and skills that they need to get into their lives, they need to make sure that are always there. So the hobbies, the friends, the connections, being able to disengage and have the me time. So for anyone listening to this call, treat your mental health as importantly as what you do your physical health. It's that balance that is definitely needed for a future life in whichever career you choose.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. That was brilliant. Thank you so much for that. And we've had a question come through as well. So, was there a trigger that started the business looking at well-being, and how did they decide on what to focus on?
Okay, so my first engagement on well-being was with a guy called Glenn Ridgway. From my point of view, it was Glenn and Paul Hendry that really drove the well-being side of support for the business. Glenn was very much a guy that would stand up in an office and tell people that he suffered with bouts of depression. And he would talk very openly about what that depression felt to him physically, mentally, and the support that he needed. And because of his vocalization, because he was so open and honest about who he was and what he needed to be proactive and professional in his everyday job and the support they needed, people listened and the business listened. And on the back of that, it started to drive it forward. So our wellbeing program isn't necessarily specific on one thing, it's on the complete range. So our employee assistance program that's open to all the staff, all the contractors, and the people that live with them, offers everything from financial well-being all the way to physical well-being and everything in between. So it's not just about mental well-being, it's full breadth.
Yeah, thank you for that. And thinking about both of your roles, so obviously as a project manager and within the mental health project that you do, what skills do you think people need to work in both of those roles? What would they need?
Okay, so project management, and obviously I assume this would be a question that would be asked. So I thought, what does it take to be a good, did I want to be a project manager before I became a project manager? And the actual answer is no. I qualified as a design engineer. I was a 3D mechanical design engineer many years ago. But I've come into project management because the skills that I think are good for a project manager, I have. So it's about being able to step back and look at what the problem is, understand how to chunk that into manageable tasks, and then to either self-manage that yourself or manage the resources that are achieving those parts of the project for either the business, the client, or the customer that you're working with. With regards to the Mental Health Matters program, that's more about listening, really listening to our people, understanding the support that they need, and making sure that that is managed effectively to give them that support going forward. So I guess there is an overlap. Certainly, as a project manager, you need to be able to listen to the client and what their problem is. So yeah, I suppose they do overlap quite heavily.
Yeah, and it's interesting to hear about you know, started working in a different role, then you transitioned into this, because I think that's really great for young people to hear that you're not always, well, you may not always stay in the same role that you initially thought you're going to go into. So yeah, thank you for that. And we've had another question come through. So have you always been interested in mental health? Was this something you knew you wanted in your career?
Again, that's a no. So after leaving my career as a mechanical design engineer, I went into teaching. So 10.5 years in secondary education was my next role. And I left that, I guess, primarily because I couldn't sort out my resiliency to my work-life balance. I was finding that work was having very much a detrimental effect on myself, my relationship. So I decided to leave that career and go back into industry. Coming back into industry and working for a company such as Jacobs, actually understanding that they care and that they want to show what they're doing and how they can give you that support, I think made me realize that that's an area that I wanted to go into, because knowing that you're able to be involved and understand the different diverse sections to what mental health is, not only are you helping the people around you, but you're helping yourself as well. It's about being informed, and the more I can see the signs in others, I can look back and see the signs that I missed in myself.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And we got a question coming in about engineering as well. So how did you get into engineering? How did you decide what aspect of engineering you wanted to go into?
Okay, so I was, again, engineering wasn't a natural career route for me. I was at school. I'd done pretty well at school for GCSEs, and I thought A levels would be the next easy option. That wasn't the case. I failed the 3 A levels that I was on. In fact, I quit early. I didn't achieve very well, so I went off to college and thought, what do I want to do at college? So I started with a BTEC in engineering, which covered electrical and mechanical. And down those routes, I found that I enjoyed mechanical more than the theoretical side of electrical. I wanted to be doing and physically things with my hands. And from that point, I then created that, or I then had understood that I liked CAD, moved into 2D design, then 3D design, and that's where the route for engineering started.
Yeah, that's great. And it's really great to hear about, you know, you face those challenges as well, maybe doing your A levels and then it wasn't for you, but knowing that you could go into something else. And that's, you know, that information that can be really supportive for a young person to hear.
Yeah, no, the big thing that certainly I tried to get across when I was in delivering education was it's more about stage than age. I know that education teaches us at a certain age we should be doing qualifications, and the next age you've got the next hurdle. But if you're not ready, it doesn't mean that that door is shut. It just means that you don't want to walk through that door at that specific time. There may be another time for you to go through it.
Oh, absolutely. That's great advice there. So speaking about advice, so if a young person came to you and said they, you know, they're interested in being a project manager, what advice would you give them to get started within this role?
Do your research, understand what project management is about. Like I say, I since I've been with Jacobs, I've probably done 4 roles that I never knew ever existed. Not because I didn't, or they weren't ever around when I was younger, but I just didn't know they were there, so I hadn't done my research. Project management is such a diverse career. You can go into it with so many transferable skills. So if you're interested in electronics, you can be a great project manager for electrical or electronic projects. likewise, civils, in fact, any sort of area, you name it, project management has a route for you. Yeah, just be open-minded and do your research.
Absolutely. Another question. So I can't seem to focus at school. Are there any bottom rung jobs I can get in engineering as I do better at work?
Great question.
Yeah.
And what that really shows is that, I mean, I experienced it myself. I would rather be making things than answering questions about things. And clearly that question's come from someone the same place. We have many talented technicians within our business, within our field services team, that are out there doing the practical stuff for industries such as the nuclear industry, putting the right solutions in place, building the right things for our clients. So 100% engineering, you don't always have to have the qualifications. You just need to have the right aptitude and dedication to put yourself forward, and don't stop.
Yeah, thank you. So coming back to skills again, actually, this leads quite nicely, and we've just had another question pop up. How important have transferable skills been when switching jobs and careers? This is a great question.
It really is, and I battled with this. So I remember walking into the job centre, informing the job centre that I was about to hand my notice in at being a teacher, and could they help me with my next job? And their advice back to me was, we can't support you because you've currently got a job. Why are you leaving your job? I said, but it's not right for me. So I came back home, and I remember spending the weekend looking at all of the skills that I felt I had as a teacher, as in the stakeholder management. If you can talk to your peers, if you can talk to the head teacher, talk to your line managers, you can do stakeholder management. I looked at the writing skills. Well, I wrote lesson plans, I was delivering topics, I could read specifications, so there were some technical aspects in there. And then I looked at the job descriptions back in industry, and okay, it was 10 years ago since I was back in that industry, but looked at what I could tie up with, and then created my CV around that. And yeah, it wasn't an instant thing, and like many people probably on the call, you'll end up applying for a lot of jobs. It's the way it is until you've got the 5 or 6 years worth of experience that people can actually look at and go, wow, this person's applied themselves. You've just got to keep putting your CV out there, tweaking it. But the transferable skills are a really big thing. Soft skills, how we engage with people and how we develop ourselves, definitely.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for that. And I know we've got a video to come on to in a moment about the 1 million lives, but I was just wondering, before we share that video, could you give us a little bit of an overview about what 1 million lives is and kind of what that aim is?
Yeah, so 1 million lives is something quite, I'm quite humbled by the fact that we as a business, we as Jacobs have invested in 1 million lives. It's a mental health, it's a well-being check-in tool. I know there's many apps, there's many devices out there that you can do a check-in, but we as a business have invested in the 1 million lives. It's totally open to everybody, and hopefully the video plays okay, because it'll explain probably better than what I am at the moment about what it is and what it does. But it's to make sure that we are doing that check-in for ourselves, to make sure that we're paying attention to the signs that maybe we're missing. Too many of us every day in our working lives and in our careers that we're doing look for the big wins, and yet we don't stop. We don't reflect on the little wins that happen probably every day, probably every hour, that we've managed to tick that thing off, but we didn't write it down initially because we were too busy to write it down, but we've achieved it. And 1 million lives gives us that moment to stop, reflect. It asks us the questions that probably need to be asked of ourselves, and then really comes back with some sensible advice, and an avenue to seek further information if you need it.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you so much for that introduction of it. And I think it just shows how, vital well-being is for our careers as well, and how we thrive within those careers. So yeah, we'll bring the video up now and we'll play the video for that to give a little bit more detail about.
Great stuff.
That should be coming on screen. Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much. I think, looking at the time, that video was really nice to end on, and just really shows why looking at our mental health is just really important. But Nick, I just want to say a big thank you for coming on today and being here and spreading this message. And just a big, big thank you.
Thank you, Kaylee. Thank you for the opportunity to come on and have the chat, and more than happy to follow this up at a later date if desired.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you. So again, a big thank you for Nick for jumping on today and speaking about his role as a project manager, and also the engineering business, along with mental health and why it is so important. And thank you for Josie for doing tech today. And also thank you for everyone watching. And we look forward to speaking to you very soon on Thursday for the next episode of Careers and Coffee. Thank you.